never believed in gut instincts until I saw the man behind cabin 9. My girlfriend Lauren and I were desperate to unplug. We'd both been working long hours in the city and needed a break from the noise, literal and digital. So we booked a 3-night stay at a secluded cabin resort in northern Minnesota. No Wi-Fi, no cell service, just a faded old lodge with a few lakeside cabins spread across the property. When we checked in, the host Rick handed us a laminated map. Cabins 1 through 8 were clearly labeled, but there was a 9th one, barely visible, cabin 9, drawn faintly in pencil and scratched out. When I asked about it, Rick paused before replying, "That one's shut down. Roof's bad. Just don't go back there." We stayed in cabin 4, tucked near the woods, with a perfect view of the lake. It was peaceful, quiet enough to hear every creak in the trees. That first evening, we grilled dinner, played cards by lantern light, and laughed about how eerie the silence felt after living downtown. But just after midnight, as we were getting ready for bed, we heard 3 knocks, slow, distant, not on our door, probably a branch, Lauren said, though she sounded unsure. I went out on the porch with a flashlight. Nothing but wind and trees. Still, we locked the doors tight before going to bed. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. Don't know why. Just had that cold, crawling feeling in my stomach. I sat up and heard it. Footsteps, crunching gravel, moving toward the porch. I peeled back the curtain and saw him, a man, standing directly in front of our cabin door, completely still. He wore a canvas coat and a wide-brimmed hat. His face was shadowed, but he was staring directly at the handle, like he was waiting for it to turn. I whispered Lauren's name, but when she got up and looked, he was gone. The next morning I told Rick. He barely reacted, just muttered something about it probably being a lost hiker, but there was something guarded in his eyes, like he didn't fully believe his own explanation. Later that day, Lauren and I walked a wooded path behind the cabins, and we found cabin 9. It was in worse shape than the others. Roof caved in, windows boarded up, but the strangest part was the fresh footprints. Boot marks in the dirt, large, deep, circling the porch, and lying against the side of the cabin was a worn canvas jacket, faded, soaked, and stained with what looked like dried blood. We didn't touch it. We didn't speak. We just turned around and left. That night, we kept every light on. Still, at 2:47 a.m., we heard knocking. Not on the door this time, on the bedroom window. Lauren clutched my arm as I pulled back the curtain. The man was there again, this time farther back, near the tree line, behind cabin 9. He was standing completely still, partially illuminated by moonlight, head slightly tilted, watching us. We didn't sleep after that. We checked out the next morning. I asked Rick once more, directly, "Who is that man?" Rick hesitated, then said quietly, "My brother built this place with me, years ago. He used to sleep in cabin 9 when guests weren't around." Said the silence made him feel clearer. One day, he walked into the woods and never came back. They searched for days, Rick said. No signs of him, no body, just vanished. Then he looked me dead in the eyes. "You're not the first to see someone out there. Sometimes guests report a man near cabin 9, watching. He never speaks, he never moves, but he shows up, only to certain people." We drove home in silence. To this day, I don't know what we saw, but sometimes, when I'm half asleep, with the window open and the wind rustling outside, I swear I hear it again. 3 slow knocks. I rented a remote A-frame cabin in the Colorado Rockies to get away for a weekend. Just me, some books, and silence. It was late October, and the air was already sharp with cold. The host mentioned the weather could change fast this time of year, and to keep an emergency radio on hand, since there was no cell signal. I welcomed the quiet. No distractions, no social media, just the sound of wind through the pines. That first evening was calm. I lit a fire, made tea, and read by lantern light. Around midnight, I noticed the wind picking up. What started as a gentle whisper turned into a deep howl, like the trees themselves were groaning. Then the power flickered once, twice, and died. No big deal, I had a flashlight and a small backup lantern. I pulled out the old emergency radio from the shelf and flipped it on. Nothing but static. I adjusted the dial, trying to find the weather report, but the only thing I heard, faintly, was a whisper. "Don't go outside." I froze. The whisper was layered under the static, barely audible, but definitely a voice. I leaned closer. The signal pulsed again. "He's watching from the trees." I shut it off. I told myself it was interference, some station bleeding through, but I couldn't shake the cold sweat crawling down my spine. The wind outside slammed against the windows. I checked my phone. No bars, no Wi-Fi. Then, from outside, a knock. I jumped. It wasn't loud, just precise. One knock on the back door. No one should have been out here. The nearest cabin was miles away. I moved toward the door with the flashlight, pausing a few feet away. Another knock. I held my breath and yanked the curtain aside. There was no one there. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, the storm was gone. Just crisp blue skies and silent trees. I decided to hike around and clear my head. About 100 yards behind the cabin, I found something strange. An old metal lockbox half buried in pine needles. Inside, a radio, identical to the one I had inside. Same knobs, same brand, still on. But this one was crackling more violently. And underneath the static, I heard the same voice again. "He's not gone." I dropped it and backed away. That evening, the storm returned. Suddenly, no build-up, just wind slamming in out of nowhere and lightning lighting up the sky. The power went out again. I turned on the radio, against my better judgment, and immediately the voice returned, louder this time. "Don't let him in. He knocks 3 times. I ran to the window, shaking, flashlight in hand. I saw a figure at the edge of the woods, still watching. The third knock never came. But the radio started screeching, not static, screaming, like something was trying to crawl through the signal. I unplugged it. The sound didn't stop. It only ended when the sun rose. I packed and left that morning, earlier than planned. When I got back into range, my phone buzzed with a voicemail, left in the middle of the night. It was garbled, full of static. But right before it cut off, I heard my own voice, clear, panicked, whispering, "He's inside." I stayed in a cabin community in Oregon last fall. Tiny homes spaced along a forest ridge, popular with writers and loners. I was there to work on a manuscript, but I ended up writing almost nothing because of Lot 17. The place was beautiful. Morning fog rolled through like waves, and at night you could hear nothing but the hum of the wind and the occasional owl. My cabin was Lot 16. Simple, quiet, perfect. The one next to me, Lot 17, was supposedly vacant. That's what the host told me during check-in. But someone was living there. The first night, I saw a light flicker through the window next door, a faint blue glow. At first, I thought maybe someone had just arrived late, but the next morning, the door was closed, the curtains drawn, no car out front, no footprints in the wet dirt. That night, I saw it again. A dim blue light. Then a shadow moved behind the curtain. I texted the host, thought 17 was empty. He replied, "It is. No one should be in that unit." I didn't respond. Later, around 2 a.m., I was woken up by a knock. Not at my door, at the back window. I sat up in bed, heart thudding. The knock came again, just one. I didn't move, didn't look, just waited. Nothing. I finally got up and checked all the locks. The next day, I walked over to lot 17. The curtains were drawn, but I could see just enough through the side to tell the place was mostly empty. Except a chair, facing the window, as if someone had been watching me. That night I heard shuffling footsteps outside, leaves crunching, a heavy exhale, like someone standing just outside the door, trying not to be heard. I turned off the lights and waited. At exactly 2 a.m., the knock came again. One soft knock. Back window. I pulled the curtain just a little and saw nothing. But on the glass, there was a smudge, as if someone had pressed their forehead to it. On my final night, I was packing up when I noticed something new. Lot 17's door was cracked open, just barely. I stared at it for a long time, and against every instinct, I walked over. The cabin smelled like mildew and dust, but also something off, like wet wood and iron. The inside was empty, no furniture, no electricity, just that one chair, now knocked over. I left, fast. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch with my jacket on, waiting for morning. At 2 a.m., I heard a knock. Not at the window, at the bedroom closet. I backed away, not breathing. Then my phone lit up. A new message, unknown number. "Thank you for letting me stay in your cabin." He didn't like 17 anymore. I stared at the screen, then heard the closet door creak open.